Hi, so my name is Amy, and I'm making this video to share my story. I don't want to be on the video right now, but um, yeah, I feel like it's time for me to release my testimony, and I hope that by giving the account of what happened, this can restore hope in someone. Um, so my story starts when I'm 16 years old. I was in high school. I was, a really bright teenager and healthy and had lots of hobbies. And then one morning I woke up and I had suddenly lost kind of my grip on like reality, I guess. And I didn't know what was happening. I kind of was like, I kind of kept it to myself for a while. I was like, unable to kind of make decisions properly, and I was getting kind of confused. So I kind of kept this to myself for a while. I didn't know what was going on. And, you know, the weeks kind of went on in this condition. And I decided, okay, this is not normal. So I told like my caregivers at the time that I was living with my grandparents, and they didn't think I was crazy, but I thought I was going crazy. Anyway, so after my family found out, they were very supportive, but very quickly, what started off as just kind of like this mental fog, it turned into me losing certain mobility in my body. So my mind had sort of gone into this fog, and I was just so confused, and like I just couldn't function, and my legs were hurting, my arms were hurting, like everything was hurting, and I just couldn't, I couldn't function. And then the weeks turned into months, and my condition was just getting worse, and my family were just like, they just weren't handling it very well, and it was just a really really stressful period. And then I spent the next 5 years staying in and out of hospital, receiving a multitude of tests and scans and treatments, MRIs, X-rays, ECGs, trying to figure out what was going on. And throughout the next 5 years, I literally felt like I went through hell. My mind just was not right. I couldn't function as a human being. It's really difficult to describe like really what the depth of it was. I was put on drug trials to try and like alleviate the symptoms and find the root cause of everything, and I had so many side effects, and the doctors at the time could see the physical damage that was going on in my body, but they couldn't find the underlying cause of my symptoms. And now, like, sat here reflecting on it, it almost seems like it was like a film, like when you watch a movie and you're like, oh my goodness, like I could never imagine that happening to me. And I went through that, and it's kind of like, wow, like it really is as bad as it sounds. So yeah, it makes you kind of feel when you've got a health condition that is undiagnosed, that you're like a walking question mark. Like there's no closure. Like how can you get treated if you don't know what the problem is? So in uh in 2017, we found a facility in Germany that dealt with specialized testing for diseases, and I had a full blood range done. and my results came back positive for Lyme disease. My markers were high, and it showed that my immune system was being suppressed by this disease. And Lyme disease, if you don't know, is an infectious disease caused by the bacteria Borrelia I can't say the the second part of it, Burgdorferi. Google it. And it's transmitted usually by ticks. You know, the tick becomes infected, and or the mice and birds, and people get bitten by these things, and that's how it starts. And many people with Lyme disease, they don't have any memory of a tick bite during like the initial 3 to 30 day period after getting infected with this bacteria. You might notice something, or you might not, but symptoms can range from like the more obvious to, like fever, headache, chills and stuff, swollen lymph nodes. It kind of feels like a heavy flu when it starts, but then the mental side and the fatigue kind of kicks in, and then that's when you kind of realize, okay, this is something that's not quite right. So that's Lyme disease. I had a rash as well on my leg. It was like a ring, and when I went to the GP and I showed them what was on my leg, they just thought it was ringworm. So I had like treatment for ringworm. So this is 5 years after I got sick that I found out I had Lyme disease. So after this, I discovered that I had chronic late-stage Lyme disease and neuroborreliosis, which is where the disease starts affecting the nervous system. I was 21 at this age, and my menstrual cycle had completely stopped. I no longer had periods. I had so much pain in my stomach, in my back. I developed a gallbladder infection, and I had a scan that showed that I had gallstones, a hiatus hernia, and I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome and told that I may never be able to conceive. I was very underweight. I couldn't keep food down, and I experienced the most severe headaches and neck stiffness. It was just very painful. I had so many symptoms. I could literally list them off to you. But I don't want to think that this video is about me talking about how ill I was, but I do want people to know the extent of just how horrific it was, because if there's someone else in that situation, I want you to know the truth. I lost a lot of my vision. I had inflammation in my eyes. I lost my long-sighted vision, which is, I guess, pretty normal. A lot of people wear glasses, but that was noticeable for me, is the pain in my eyes. I had nerve pain all down my face, numbness, arthritis, severe joint pain and swelling in my knees particularly, and in my lower back. These things just went on for the duration of the full 8 years that I was very, very, very sick with this. So the next 2 years after we found out about the Lyme disease diagnosis, it was kind of like, okay, we've got this diagnosis, this is good, what do we do now? And it was kind of like a limbo for myself and my family, where we didn't really have a clue what to do, where to go. We'd never really heard about it before, so we did a bit of research, and we found some private clinics. They were very few and far between. The drives were really long, sometimes 6-7 hours for an hour appointment, and none of the treatments worked. I had session upon session of these very expensive treatments, and they didn't seem to make any difference. So in the eyes of, I guess, the National Health Service and private doctors, I was treatment resistant or incurable. After 8 years, I decided that I would stop seeking treatment, and I was just going to accept that this is my condition, this is my body. I began to question why I was born, and why did I want to end my life. I started thinking, like, what is the point in my existence? Like, why am I here? I was raised in a non-religious home, and no one had explained to me that there was any meaning to life because I had no reason to question it until now. I remember I was stood in a train station, and in my mind, I was just staring at the track, and I had tears down my face, and I was like, I'm ready to go. Like, this is it. I don't want this anymore. Like, this is the last. This is it now. And I will never forget what happened. To like the left of me, there was two guys, and they were kneeling down, talking to this guy. And as I looked at them, one of them spotted me, and he walked up to me, and he placed his hand on my shoulder, and he said, I know what you're going through. And I like looked him in the face, and I could just feel this intense peace that was coming through him, and his eyes were like really, really bright blue. And I was like, what on earth? Like, how do you know? You don't know me. And I couldn't barely get my words out. And he said, that's the Lord Jesus. And I just stood there. And he said, what are you doing tonight? I said nothing. I didn't tell him what was going on. I didn't know how he would even, know what was going on. And he said, we're having a healing night tonight in our church. You should come. It was at 7:00. And he gave me this little card. I was like, I didn't have any options left at this point. So I decided to go. I was terrified, but I went to church that night, and I was told that someone would pray with me. And so the pastor and his wife, as I was sitting in the church, they came up to me, and they kind of knew the person who'd referred me to the church, and they began to pray for me, and I could feel the presence of God. I could feel the healing in my body. I could feel this intense peace, this love, this indescribable. I cannot put words to the amount of peace I felt that I had not felt for 8 years. And they said to me, do you want a relationship with God? And I was like, wow, yes, I do. And so that night, I gave my life to Jesus. And they told me, it's a relationship with Jesus Christ, and that he has a plan for my life. And it was then that the Lord began to start a work. It was that day that the Lord, he began to reveal his love for me. And as he did, I gave my life into his hands. I was baptized a month later. I started to read the Bible and attend meetings, and it was just a complete turnaround of like my mindset. Although I was still physically suffering with my illness, I had hope, because the times where I was being prayed for, I felt relief. It wasn't like, I've just come to God and all of my illness is healed, but I really felt this, this relief that was real, and hope. And as I was praying with people in the church, one day, someone spoke to me, and then they said, you're going to be delivered and you're going to be healed. And I trusted in what I heard, and I never gave up trusting that I would be free from the disease. And so for months and months, going into years, I continued to pray. And when I attended church, others would lay hands on me and pray for healing, and I saw my symptoms disappearing every time. Something would go, bam, gone. No treatment, but the symptoms went. It was like a chunk of the puzzle just got healed. And very early in 2019, I was completely delivered from the disease. And I am now 26 years old. Every organ in my body is healthy and functioning normally. My periods have returned. I'm independent. I have a job. I have my own house. I love going out for walks and spending time with my friends. And I know this is only because of the power of God. And this testimony needed to be shared. I took my time, but I pray and I hope that whoever hears this, if you are feeling like you're broken beyond repair and that there is no hope for you, I want you to know that there is hope. And it doesn't matter how far away you are from God right now. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter what happens. God can take you and make you into something new. And I want you to know that it's not an instant thing. It is a process. But if he can do it for me, he can do it for you as well. God is not a respecter of persons. And I also want to mention that I'm going to be making more videos about other testimonies that I have. And who knows, I may I may show my face at some point. But I feel more comfortable doing it this way for now. I hope this encourages someone, and I give all the glory to God for this healing.